Now, the ANC NEC has held a briefing a short while ago. The party discussed pressing matters facing both the organization and the country, such as the impasse over the budget and trade relationships. The party has come out harsh against its GNU partner, the DA, for seeking to use the deadlock over the proposed 0.5 percentage points VAT hike to bargain for the reversal of redress laws. Newzroom Afrika's Vuyo Mvoko was there and joins us with an update. A very good evening to you. Now, Vuyo, you have been, of course, following this briefing, and strong words for the DA by Park Style. Tell us a bit more.
Indeed, the way he looked and how he put it before us was that it is really the meeting, the NEC meeting really took a dim view of the Democratic Alliance, insisting that conversations should be reopened over your Bella Act, over your expropriation without compensation, over the NHI, saying, his look was like, how dare you, kind of, it was that how dare you kind of look, saying we were talking about the budget here. Engagements should be about the budget, but not seeking to get other political concessions via the back door. I think he did a good job of conveying the sentiment of the National Executive Committee of the ANC around that demand, which then suggests that, or shall I say, explains why then he was at pains earlier before he ended with those words. He was at pains trying to say the NEC of the ANC, which is the biggest decision-making body between conferences, took a view after elections, after the ANC saw the results of the poll, the national and provincial elections poll, which then where the ANC polled and didn't get an outright majority. The National Executive Committee then decided that they should have conversations with all political parties. No political parties was left out of the equation. But out of those conversations, they then ended up with the Democratic Alliance as the most senior partner in the GNU. He then went further to say the door was never closed, even to those that decided against being part of the GNU, which, if you then read between the lines, suggests that there was never a decision to actually or consciously exclude the other parties. But from the outcome of the conversations that the ANC had, with everybody, they then settled on the ANC, the IFP, and the rest of them. They have now gone back to those organizations to say, can we talk about the budget? And in talking about the budget, he says, no one, even the most senior of the GNU partners, is allowed to bring into the equation other issues the way that the Democratic Alliance has done. So they have really taken a hard line, an exception even to what the DA has done.
And on that hard line as well, with the impasse over the VAT hike seemingly unresolved, what can be said about the GNU, that relationship?
Well, Kosienzo Ramokgopa says the conversations are obviously ongoing. Nothing has been concluded yet. And he was saying they will probably continue until the very last minute. And as part of those conversations, the 0.5% VAT increase is still on the table. In other words, no decision has been taken yet as to whether, in fact, to remove this, what is essentially the big issue around the conversation. So a decision has not been taken yet to say take off. Forget about the 0.5% VAT increase, and then everyone will then be on board. Because questions, there are about 5 proposals Pakistan suggested that are on the table. In other words, if you don't increase VAT by 0.5%, where then are you going to get the money that everybody agrees will have to be found, given where the economy is, how it's performing, and the needs of the country? And those questions are yet to be answered. So VAT, therefore, still or remains on the table until you've exhausted conversations around where the money will come from, if it doesn't come from VAT. So to that extent, we cannot talk about doing away with that issue, and then which then kills all the conversations, because once you remove that, everybody seems to have bought. They may have an issue here or there, but everybody will generally accept the VAT. The VAT is the issue that is separating the political parties. But the conversations, he says, are ongoing, and they may go on until the very last minute. And if, by implication, if at the end of the day, you cannot find an area where, VAT has to go, that's a decision that will have to be taken. But of course, there will be consequences to such a decision, Marcel.
Just lastly, Vuyo, earlier it was Dr. Newzroom who had said at that NEC briefing that no parameters in terms of who we can talk to. Basically, we can speak to parties outside of the GNU. Yesterday, on the show, we had the spokesperson of the Democratic Alliance, Vuyo Mvoko, and he was basically saying that if the ANC goes and speaks to people or parties outside of the GNU, that would be a motion likened to a motion of no confidence against the GNU itself. Did you get a sense of a recommitment or even further straining of these two political parties within the GNU?
Well, that the relationship is strained is an open secret. But as to whether this particular moment is a defining moment with regards to their relationship is, of course, or remains a point of speculation at this stage. But the ANC's understanding, certainly according to Pakistan, and the Secretary General of the ANC, Fikile Mbalula, has said this too many a times, in fact, that the fact that they are in this arrangement or marriage with the DA doesn't necessarily mean, or is not premised on them not speaking to or not even bringing on board other political players. That's not their understanding. But if that is the preference of the DA, it's a different matter altogether, a matter that should be put to the DA and a matter for the DA to actually decide.
Vuyo, thank you so much for that update coming to us live following that ANC NEC media briefing.